the key point of Matthew's Hope, which is really what interested me about coming to Matthew's Hope, was the transitional housing piece.
The Moving Forward program includes, in some cases, housing. That could be in a hotel, that could be in a duplex, that could be in one of our houses. Those houses to this day are as nice as any home you'll walk into, sometimes nicer than some of the things we have in our own homes, because we want to set the bar high, because people have learned how, in my mind, you've learned how to sleep like I did, learn how to sleep behind a dumpster when I was homeless, sleep in a cardboard box, whatever. We need to get people thinking at a different level. Typically, there's some type of trauma tied to someone becoming homeless, and then becoming homeless is a trauma within itself. The housing is just a piece of everything else that includes our mental health, our medical, our hair salon, our laundry service, the helping to build resumes. I mean, all those other things are all taking place as part of the package, the Moving Forward package, and that's why it works.
You guys had the Brevard campus for several years now, and one of the goals from the beginning was to convert some existing structures on that campus into transitional housing. How is that project coming along so far?
It's like the death march. It's seriously
such a labor of love. That's the nice way to say it.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Lewis with Imagine, and we are here with Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. This podcast is produced and filmed and edited by John Burkett with Imagine. Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. We also offer photography, videography, and even podcast production services. Book a free consultation today. In this episode, we will be talking about Matthew's Hope Transitional Housing. We will get an update on the progress towards opening their units on their Brevard campus, and we will learn why not every unit is housing someone at all times. Shelley, before we get into specifics and updates, can you explain to everyone how transitional housing fits into the overall pie of Matthew's Hope?
Really, it's the foundation of Matthew's Hope. It's we talk a lot about how we are not a shelter, how we are not, there's so much that we are not. We do serve our homeless guests that are going to be homeless and out on the streets. But the key point of Matthew's Hope, which is really what interested me about coming to Matthew's Hope, was the transitional housing piece, because we help people learn how to have a great foundation and how to move forward, how to take care of their house, how to take care of their bills, how to budget, all of that. If you didn't learn that as a kid, we are here to help you learn that now, but you have to want to learn it as well.
Definitely.
Or sometimes just reminding people what they know, because when you have experienced, typically there's some type of trauma tied to someone becoming homeless. And then becoming homeless is a trauma within itself. And when those things happen, it creates this perfect storm where suddenly people become somewhat paralyzed in what steps to take next, and whether or not all of a sudden simple things they used to do all of a sudden become very difficult.
Wow.
Because they're in survivor mode and they're just trying to figure out how to get to the next hour, much less the next day, the next day.
Yeah. So Scott, Matthew's Hope is specifically not a shelter. So what prompted you to incorporate housing into the program?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that the only time we become a shelter is during extreme weather conditions, hurricanes, cold weather, things like that, which last time we did this, I think we sheltered people. It was about 250, 260 people between our two campuses.
Wow.
I suspect it will be more based on the numbers we're seeing right now. We're now shooting over 1,000 touches a week, so a lot going on. The transitional housing was such that literally, like most things that happen at Matthew's Hope, I woke up, I'm going to build houses. That's, not so much I was going to build them, but I was going to find them. And I had this idea that I would find a group of homes in the West Orange community. And I got in my truck and started driving around and literally found a group of homes that were for sale. And I'll make a long story short, but I think it's worth noting, is that we had found these houses and I had no money. And I still had a little left over from what I call my previous life. And so I made a lowball offer of $175,000 and they accepted it.
Mom.
And then it was like, oh boy, now what do we do?
What?
Okay, they accepted it. So I wrote a check for $5,000 that I said that we would forfeit if in 30 days I got my due diligence and wasn't going to work out. Yes, we did due diligence on the property and what needed to be done to it, but the other side of it is how do I come up with $175,000? So some local businessmen here in the community in Winter Garden got together with me. They formed a LLC called Matthews Hope Helpers, and we allowed people to invest. A $10,000 investment got you a 4% return with a 20-year amortization and a 5-year balloon. And we bought the houses, and those houses are well worth over $1 million now. We bought them for $175,000. The housing portion was the fact that it was so difficult, especially in this area. At the time, there was one hotel that is now gone, called the Best Inn, I think it was, something like that. It was nasty. And we used it, but it wasn't proper for moving forward towards a life of independence and self-sustainability. So that's where the housing idea came from. The other part was to do those houses. Those houses to this day are as nice as any home you'll walk into, sometimes nicer than some of the things we have in our own homes, because we want to set the bar high, because people have learned how, in my mind, you've learned how to sleep like I did, learn how to sleep behind a dumpster when I was homeless, sleep in a cardboard box, whatever. We need to get people thinking at a different level. And the other part was families. Not subjecting families into some of the things they're subjected to and living in some of these hotels. Because the truth is, the hotels that most homeless people are put in aren't all that great. And my concern was mainly for the children being in an environment around those other people that, what was that going to look like? Okay. So it's been probably one of our greatest accomplishments. Our program, it's a centerpiece to our program, but it's not something you just, look, I could have 100 houses and fill them up in 15 minutes.
Right.
The idea behind the Moving Forward program, Transitional Housing, is that we're literally teaching people how to earn the right to a home and how to earn the right to keep a home. Putting people in a house is easy. That's really easy to do, especially if you have unlimited funds, which we do not. But keeping them in a house under their own ability to care for it, that's something altogether different.
Wow.
So, recently, Sherry, one of our former graduates, was just approved for an Habitat house a few months ago. And I think they said they'll be done with it in January, February. To me, Sherry's the perfect candidate because she and her daughters lived in our housing and they learned how to care for the home. When we bring people in, we say, you got to take care of this place because it needs to be ready for the next family. And so they learned how, when they saw something, a spot on the ceiling or the toilet not flushing right, make the phone call before water's all over the place or the ceiling's falling in. Little things like that. So I see Sherry as the perfect candidate for that. But whether it's Habitat or something else, we have to prepare these people to be able to care for a home long term. So it's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. And it works.
That's awesome. How many transitional housing units are owned by Matthews Hope?
Owned or rented?
Either or.
Okay. So we owned five houses on Morgan Street?
5 owns duplex, so 6 units.
So 6 units total. Okay. And then we have 8 units in another part of Winter Garden, as well as over in Brevard County. Do we have 5 units now?
We have 5 units now, yes.
Yeah.
And in a recent episode, you mentioned that only 4 of your guests in Orange County were in transitional housing at the time. With so many others in need, why aren't all of the units occupied at all times?
Okay, so that's changed a little bit. And also, I also want to make sure that everybody knows that almost always when we can, we have a staff member live on property, on site, just for oversight, not to be a babysitter, but just for oversight. So though we have 5 people now in transitional housing, we have 7 locations actually taken up.
Gotcha.
So just for that small little bit, because it's important that we have somebody on site, because that they watch to see is the lawn being taken care of, things like that. Scott kind of mentioned earlier, we can house people all day long. I have people all day long that would be so happy to be in a house, or we see people all day long. I said that wrong. The reality is we would put them in a house, and are they equipped or do they have the desire to actually take care of that home?
So they're not quite ready yet.
They're not ready yet.
And so ours is a typical process where often they'll end up in our duplexes first, see how they do well with that, and then move into the homes we own that actually are full-size homes. In Brevard County, we have a hotel that we work with that we lease rooms from them, and they start at the hotel. If they do well with that, then it's the next level. Everything is about real world. Nothing that is free is valued.
Right.
And we want to make sure people understand that there's a value in everything that we do. And we operate as real world. If you live in a home, you're expected to take care of it, right? You're expected to call somebody, a plumber, if you got a plumbing issue, whatever the case is. So that's all being taken place. And I'll also say that, yes, we had only 4 at that time, but that number can change dramatically from day to day.
Fast.
There's times where we've been full and had people wanting to get in, we're full. And then things change for whatever reasons, sometimes good reasons, sometimes bad reasons, but also there's units available. So, and we also try to find out and figure out where people are at in their journey. Sometimes if they're still in survival mode, they're not going to be okay yet. We got to take that next step. So that goes against a lot of traditional
the Housing First
Initiative. The Housing First Initiative can be and has been very successful in some areas. In other areas, it hasn't been successful at all. It's really about the wraparound services that we offer. The housing is just a piece of everything else that includes our mental health, our medical, right? Our hair salon, our laundry service, the helping to build resumes. I mean, all those other things are all taking place as part of the package, the moving forward package. And that's why it works.
But we really steward people through life. We really coach them and steward them through life. Just like he said, I care for a lot of people in my house. I don't just turn on the lights for them every day and make sure that the water's, I have to get people to doctor's appointments. I have to get myself to doctor's appointments. I have to get my husband to doctor's appointments. And so we really have to help people understand that it's not just making sure that you are paying rent and that your whole life has to be taken care of, because if everything's not taken care of, something's going to fall apart.
Definitely.
And for people that haven't watched before, when Shelley says I have a lot of people to take care of my house,
I have a lot of people.
She has, her 2 boys that were one born with Asperger's, one born with Down syndrome. Okay. She inherited her brother at 46 years old, who is deaf, going blind, and the mind structure of about a 12-year-old that she inherited. So that's a lot of things, but she is making all that work. And so it's almost the same thing with our folks, is her taking that skill set that she has of making sure everything's still moving in the right direction and helping them accomplish that too. Right. When to set a doctor's appointment. Look, if you can set a doctor's appointment in the afternoon, that's always much better for any job.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So getting them to think that and being able to just say to somebody, well, I can't do that, but can we do this? Mm-hmm. Getting them to advocate for themselves. Because ultimately, our whole thing is help us, help them, help themselves. Right. We can't want it more than them.
Right.
They've got to be able to, and we're kind of walking them through of advocating for themselves, because they're going to need to do that out in the real world.
So Scott, you mentioned some, to maybe me, common sense things, like if there's water on the floor and spraying, you call a plumber. If there's toilets not working, you call the plumber. Why wouldn't a normal an adult?
Yeah. And it's a fair question, because you say it's common sense. Well, common sense often isn't so common, especially when you are in a crisis state.
Okay.
Okay. And what happens is you just hope it goes away, or you don't want to. Sometimes people get caught in the idea that maybe they had something to do with it and they don't want to be blamed for it, what have you. Try to get away from all that. Look, we have something like 130,000 square feet of buildings that we have to maintain through Matthews Hope. And we are constantly looking for leaks, toilets that aren't flushing, pipes that are leaking, electrical things that aren't. We're constantly doing that. It's we're property managers also. We're trying to get them to understand is you're helping manage that property. You're helping manage that home. You probably aren't going to fix that, but the way we look at that thing is we have people on staff that it might be something we can easily do. But a lot of times what will happen, and people just do it all the time, is they'll sit there and they go, I've been noticing that spot Oh, I just noticed it again. The first time you notice a spot, why is there a spot in my ceiling? Because that could easily be a place where eventually the whole ceiling falls in.
Right.
Okay? That little leak. Well, I put a towel down and cleaned it up. Well, what you don't know is that little leak is also leaking behind the wall. And all of a sudden you're seeing the baseboards pop and what have you. So when you see something, why is there water here? So just get into to think in that way and take ownership of the privilege they've been given to live there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Shelley, what steps go into determining whether to offer one of your guests transitional housing?
So it's not the same for everyone. We kind of have a formula in our brain of what we look for. We look for somebody who's willing to work. We look for someone who's willing to go to school. We look for someone who's willing to better their life and has the desire. But everybody's not the same. We just had a girl who started in Brevard and made her way over to Orange County, not to come to us necessarily. She came over here for some treatment and then realized that we had an area over here. And so she came to us several times. And finally, we knew right away when we went to enter her into the system that she had been in Brevard County. And we also could see a huge change in her. And I knew her from Brevard County. So when I saw her, I almost didn't realize she was the same person because she looks totally different. And
Very healthy now.
She really does. And the presence about her is, it's not something I saw in Brevard County.
Yeah. No.
She has a presence about her. And when she came to us, she was a broken person. But I will say she came to us where she had a life before. She had a 17-year career before this.
Wow.
Bachelor's degree.
So it's crazy. So we look for someone who maybe has had a life or someone who is desiring to grow. So it's never the same. We've tried the route of I don't want to say we've tried the route of fitting people in a box, but we've tried the route of looking for a specific type person, somebody who's willing to come in and work 30 days. Well, sometimes that seems like a year to people. So we just really have to look at people individually.
Gotcha.
Or you have people that are so focused on wanting to get a roof over their head that they think that the level of work they're doing is what's going to get them in.
Right.
And that's just not true either. We have some people that have some great work ethic, but the work ethic was based on just getting off the street, not what the next step is. So we're always looking at one thing we talk about all the time. What's the end game look like? Okay. We can only keep these people up to 2 years, less if possible, so that we can bring in the next folks in. But however, you look at that and you sit there and go, okay, here's a great worker, yet they keep falling back in old habits of doing things or how they talk to people. A lot of times with our folks, because they become so angry and so disenchanted with the world, they're not very pleasant to talk to. And we're trying to explain to them, it's not what you said, it's how you said it.
Right.
It's how do we get you to advocate for yourself without a pity party and without expectation or a feeling of entitlement. And it's a lot. But when you mix everything together in that moving forward program, it works. Have you
ever had to turn away somebody who wanted transitional housing?
Absolutely.
Oh, all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's hard to sometimes make them understand because they're so focused on just wanting a roof over their head. And that's a great idea, but that's not our mission.
You need to go through the process.
Yeah.
Well, it's we do have people because they'll say, if I just had a house, my favorite, if I just had a car, if I just finished my degree, if I just this, I just that. And no, it's all those things. There's not just one. I think to myself, and I've said it out loud, well, maybe I should just be in the car business.
Sure.
Or a rental business or the education business or whatever. So that one thing you thought was going to change your entire life, how much easier would that be for us?
Right.
But the truth is we have to dig through the garbage. We have to dig through the baggage. We have to look at, what mental health issues might be there, medical issues, legal issues down the line. We got to look at all that stuff to get them on the right path, because there's not, the last thing you want to do is down the line when you got everything else picked up and you find out not until they try to get into a place that they had an eviction. We want to know that ahead of time so we can figure out, okay, do we have to pay off that eviction Can we negotiate with the owner to possibly settle for less dollars to get it off their credit report and all that kind of stuff? We're doing all that kind of stuff.
Nice. What are some of the requirements and expectations for guests that are staying in the transition housing?
Don't be a dumbass.
Well, that's a start.
Common sense isn't always common.
Yeah, and I say it laughingly, but I say that, someone's going to send me a note. The truth is, when you come in, first off, understanding that no one can do this for you. Okay, we can walk with you. We can't do it for you. We can't want it more for you. That you root on your neighbor and not compare yourself to them, because we have people say, well, compared to them. Okay, first off, that's not how this works.
Right.
You hear people say, well, at least John killed someone. I didn't do that. Well, that
Right.
doesn't make you a better person or better for the program. So it's really a well-rounded outlook in how people are treating one another, because when they go back into the work environment, those are things that here we're going to show some grace. There, they're going to lose their job and their opportunity.
Right. And I think we talked about it before. They need to attend some type of classes. There's like budgeting classes.
So we have life skills classes
Life
that
skills
are
classes,
they're
that's what it was.
required weekly. We also have Bible study. Whether you believe or not, it doesn't matter. We want you to at least go in there just to rest your mind.
Just take that hour and a half, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and just breathe. Okay. You tell me you don't believe, I'm not here to make you believe it.
And sometimes the life skill classes can be as silly as painting a pumpkin or a karate class, or we actually have banks come in and teach budgeting and teach finance. And and then sometimes we have cooking, we want people to look forward to coming, but also know that they're learning a skill, even if it's painting pumpkins. As dumb as that sounds, it's just something it's something you're going to want to do.
Right.
Well, I even doing that, just getting out of your own head.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, it's funny because
Doing something normal.
Well, yeah, but even in our own everyday life, Charlene got me to, we were on a trip last year and we were in the Caribbean somewhere, and she wanted me to go paint this ceramic stuff. Now, I don't want to. Okay. But it made her happy. So, okay, I'll go. Mm-hmm. I got into it more because I got out of my head and I wasn't thinking about what's happening in the world politically, theologically.
You're slowed down.
I just simply came to a slowdown, and pretty soon I'm pretty into this minion thing that I'm, that's what the yellow people.
Yeah.
And I'm painting it, and then I realized that my mother-in-law loves these minions, and so I'm making her gift. Yeah. But it started, I just like, I was like a little kid, like, I don't want to. Okay. We find all the time that often when our guests say they don't want to, often that's the very person that will excel and get into it and want to know when we're going to do it again.
Yep.
So it sounds a lot like raising kids, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It's very much like raising kids.
Yeah.
It really is.
So you guys had the Brevard campus for several years now, and one of the goals from the beginning was to convert some existing structures on that campus into transitional housing. How is that project coming along so far?
It's like the death march. It's seriously
such a labor of love. That's the nice way to say it.
Labor of love.
It has been
take me through this process.
Been so laborious, just because we think we're at a finish line, and that finish line gets moved not just a little bit, a whole lot.
And why is that? What's going on with it?
I don't want to get anybody mad at me, but I think the reality is that we're in the city of Cocoa, and the city of Cocoa has going through a lot of growing pains right now. And so there's been turnover and what have you. And it's just been a challenge. The exciting news is we think after 3 years battling for this, that we'll soon have the permit to do the internal work. So we're not building buildings, we're restoring buildings inside and renovating them. But however, in that, as we speak, the new roof is being put on. Whirlpool just donated all the appliances to us. We had some other people come through with some funds. We still got to raise. I'm going to use this as a little plug here. We still got to raise about $500,000 for a project that's about $1.3 million altogether. So we still need about $500,000. But right now we have $250,000 worth of matching money So if you were to make a donation to Matthew's Hope between now and the end of December, or until the money runs out, you give us one, we get two. So
great.
the goal is we have that to do. And then we just learned in the last week or so that we have to put a new roof on our Fern Foundation preschool and winter garden.
Yikes.
And that's $30,000. And we have some other repairs that we have to do and some other things we have to do on our properties.
It's never ending.
It's never
really is
ending.
never ending.
I feel sometimes, even me, I do most of the social media stuff, and I feel like I'm just always asking for help. But I hope that when people see what we do with that money, that they realize that we're the best bang for your buck in all of the Southeast. We do a lot with a little, and we have good community partners that have discounted to us and donated to us, and but we expect, and no, we don't expect. We are hopeful that those that understand and want to know our mission and what we're doing, that they want to invest in it. And we look at our donors as investors. You should expect a return on your investment, and not so much in the way of money, but seeing the lives that are being changed and those people that are becoming independent, self-sufficient, that would have died on the streets.
Definitely. Are there plans to expand the Matthews Hope Transitional Housing Program even more in the future?
There was never a plan to begin with. So let's just start with that. If God opens the door, we'll walk through it. I suspect that we will expand it. Technically, we already are in Brevard. The challenge has been cost of property. NIMBY's not in my backyard. You go into our houses in Winter Garden, nobody even knows homeless people are in there. At any place we're in, we're literally one street off the main drag, and we're 3 streets off the main drag the other way. So we're in prime real estate, and nobody realizes that we're even there. But when NIMBYs find out, not in my backyard, people raise hell. But it's hard when you're in communities that are growing. I think the bigger question is how we will adjust our in-game expectation, because we've talked earlier. We had some guests on last week that one of the things we talked about is being later on in life. What's the in game? I'm not going to put I'm going to put a 73-year-old man, get him in the job market, even though he's willing to work and physically able. So what is the end game? And so we're trying to look at all our stuff and see how do we address this new demographic. But that's not new for us either. Since day one, 15 years ago, we've been adjusting to our demographic probably a couple times a year.
Over and over, yeah.
Yeah, especially as we go through economic downturns like we're in now. Some of you don't believe that, but trust me, we're seeing numbers we've never seen before. And those numbers are the biggest part of them are baby boomers and children. We're seeing a lot of veterans on the streets again. So there's just a lot going on, and we're adjusting as we can. That's why we tell people, you don't rent from us or anything like that. The Moving Forward program includes, in some cases, housing.
Right.
Of one kind or another. That could be in a hotel, that could be in a duplex, that could be in one of our houses. And, going forward, who knows what that might include.
That's great. Thank you guys for sharing a little bit more about transitional housing. And I hope in Brevard goes a little more smoothly and a little more quickly for everybody.
Us too.
Yes.
I will say, and I want to kind of give a shameless plug, if I will. We have a group out of Tampa that's a developer called Frameworks that has their own nonprofit called Porchlight. And it started by the owner recognizing that when they were building condos and apartments, that sometimes people were being displaced. And so they're our main partner on this project in putting up the first $250,000, also helping us through all the permitting issues, because it's been a lot of work, and sometimes feel like we're not getting anywhere. The engineering and the architectural work, and those are huge things that have to happen. And so I give kudos to that team over there, and the fact that they've hung on and worked with us to get this happening.
Thanks to them.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Cool. Well, thank you all for watching and listening. Please like, subscribe, donate, volunteer. Anything that you can do to help support Matthews Hope is very much appreciated. We'll see you next time.